you ever feel like you should have it all figured out by now, but you don't? And life just keeps on throwing curveballs at you? You're not alone. Let's talk about how you can thrive in your 20s. Since I'm in my 20s and a lot of other people are going to be in their 20s probably, I figured out it would be interesting to start a new series where we talk about struggles in your 20s, because your 20s are really a roller coaster, sometimes every day, kind of. And I figured it would be interesting to talk about one topic at a time while getting ready. I thought it would be interesting to start this series with the question how to cope with failure and or rejection. And since in your 20s you're trying a lot of new things, you're exploring yourself, you're exploring your interests, you usually also are going to be confronted with rejection or failure. And that's why I figured it would be interesting and also important to talk about it. Let's go. I think it would be nice if I first off introduce myself to you. My name is Lisa. I study psychology. I study psychology in the second year. In October I'm going to start my third year. And before starting to study psychology, I got my bachelor's degrees in educational science, but then decided to study psychology. Psychology was always a big part of my life, always a big interest in my life, and yeah, that's why I'm studying right now. And since I study psychology, I figured it would be interesting to not only bring in my personal experiences, but also trying to look at these struggles and questions from a psychological point of view to kind of comprehend the struggles more, because first off, you're not alone. The struggles in your 20s are real, meaning it really is a time frame of your life where you need to make big decisions, and you're going also involuntarily going to compare yourself to others your age. That's what I did, or kind of do still. We talk about failure and rejection. The feelings that go with failure and rejection are mostly negative, right? So you feel like you didn't do enough. You feel like you could have done better, or others did better, and you compare yourself to others that maybe didn't fail this exam, or maybe did get that job, or maybe they, I don't know, found the love of their life and you didn't. And now you feel like you failed at something, or you feel rejected at something. The first thing to stop doing is to see failure as something negative, or also rejection as something negative. Of course it brings negative emotions with them, and that is totally okay. I also kind of feel like society tells us to not feel negative emotions, and negative feelings are not right. You're always supposed to be happy. That's not real. Like, that is not real. Not real at all. If you start to see failure and rejection as something different, as a learning opportunity, it changes the whole plot. Of course, you're going to feel negative emotions coming with failure and rejection. But like taking this first step and seeing it as a learning opportunity, there are for sure going to be negative emotions, but also like positive emotions or more neutral emotions attached to them. But it also is true that you're going to feel negative emotions, right? And that is totally fine. That is totally normal. And I feel like we all should learn more to sit with them, to sit with emotions, sit with them. Let them overload you. Let them sit with them. Sit with them. Feel the emotions, feel all the emotions you need to feel in this situation. Because avoiding these emotions and avoiding feeling sad, for example, or avoiding feeling frustrated isn't going to help you. It's going to make it all worse in the future, because you're going to be frustrated even longer if you don't sit with frustration. So the first thing that really helped me with fear of failure and rejection, or experiencing failure and rejection, is talking about it with other people. Reflect, sitting with it, reflecting, and talking about it. Talking about it with other people, or just journaling, writing it down. I know it's hard. I've been there, and I'm still there sometimes. But it really helps. It really helps. And I also figured that writing things down, also just for yourself, really helps. It really, really helps, because oftentimes, I myself, for example, I often feel like I don't need to write things down because I already have figured it out in my mind, but it's not true. Like, if you're going to write it down, it really helps bringing some structure also into your thoughts. And I find it really interesting if you think about it. What are your daily thoughts about yourself? Are they negative, positive, neutral? It really is interesting. Because I, myself, for example, I also struggle with negative self-talk. Like, it got better than compared to some years ago. But sometimes it's really outrageous. Oh my god, really. And I feel like if you're going to make yourself aware about how you speak to yourself and what you're telling yourself on the daily, you're going to figure out, okay, oh my god, why am I so mean to myself? Why? I'm trying my best every day. Can't I just be nice to myself? Cool thing about all of this is that you are able, or we are able, to deconstruct behavioral patterns and construct something new, like finding new mechanisms that are going to be automatic in some time, and just going with them to have new behavior towards ourselves, towards failure and or rejection, for example. Another thing I wanted to add on here is the fear of rejection and failure, like the fear you have before something happens. Like, you don't even know, you're in the situation where you don't even know if you're going to fail or you're going to be rejected, but you already feel this fear in your stomach, for example, and you're like, oh my god, I don't even want to open the mail from the university, for example, where I know if I passed or didn't pass the exam, for example. It really is, oh my god, it really can be exhausting sometimes, really. And there are some things that can help with that, for especially helping with the fear, with this fear you have before being confronted with fear, with failure or rejection. First off, we need to reframe failure and rejection, right? But we also need to reframe this fear thing, this anxiety. And when you're in this situation where you're like feeling this anxiety and feeling this fear to fail, or this fear of rejection, The one thing that is always going on in my mind is, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen in this scenario right now? And it's always such a negative thing. Like, we need to reframe this, and we need to go from what's the worst thing that could happen, reframing it to what's the best thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could bring me this day? What's the best thing that I could experience in this situation? And I also feel like I also sometimes have this when when I'm going to be confronted with social things, like when I'm meeting new people I don't know, or when I'm meeting friends of friends. I first of always kind of am like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I feel it's so interesting, because my mind can really be so uncontrolled sometimes. Like, I sometimes figure the worst things out, like the most outrageous things, like the most obscene things. Like, okay, oh my god, but what if he or she tells me I'm ugly, I'm not friendly, I am the worst human they ever met? It's not going to happen. Like, there is a 99% chance it's not going to happen, because what the but why am I thinking like this? And when I started to reframe this to what's the best thing that could happen, I also noticed that I myself, I'm going to go into this situation with another attitude. I have a whole other attitude when going into this situation. I am much more calm, and I am much more myself, because I feel like when I am in fear or anxiety, I am not myself. Like, I am not 100% myself, and that's not good. Also figured out when setting your goals, or setting goals for the future, or setting goals for the next year, for example, for the next few months, I figured, I don't know where I read it in a book, and I can't remember which book it was, whatever. I started to take a piece of paper and write the bigger goal on top, and then ask myself, okay, what are the things I need to do, or I need to achieve the biggest goal, like the goal I wrote on top. And when you're doing that, you break down your bigger goal into many smaller goals, and these smaller goals are more achievable, are more achievable than the big goal at a time. You know what I mean? If your big goal on top says, I want to be a healthy person, I want to be healthier, you could ask yourself, okay, what are the things I'm doing right now that aren't as healthy? For example, try cutting out fast food for a month, for example, or try to cut out soft drinks for, I don't know, 2 weeks or something like that. And if you give yourself these little goals, these little challenges, you see that you are capable of doing these things. You're capable of reaching the top, which is like getting healthier, right? And it also gives you like this positive feeling of, oh my god, okay, I am able to do this. I can achieve the things I want to achieve. And I feel like this really helped me the last few years. What the thing I still need to learn is like to stop myself from being happy about the things I already achieved. So in the last few months, I noticed that if I achieved something, I'm happy for some minutes, and then I'm like, okay, that's enough. Stop. What are the next goals we want to achieve? And I feel like that's kind of normal also, but I also feel like it would be cool if I learned to appreciate the things I already achieved more. Because behind every achieved goal, there is so much hard work going on, and also discipline, I'd say. So we could like celebrate this more than just 2 minutes, please. I would be happy about that. The two most important things when being confronted with failure or rejection is to one, reframe failure and rejection, meaning to detach 100% negativity with them and start to, or at least try to see them as a learning opportunity. The coolest thing about being in your 20s is also like you're in your 20s. You are able to try so many different things without really losing something. Like, I don't know, most of us won't have children in your 20s. Like, I don't, but you don't have children. You usually don't have children. You usually aren't married yet. You usually don't have a house you could lose, for example. So just try things, try new things, try everything you want to try. It's like, I feel like we should let ourselves try more. This is not related, but salted caramel really smells good. Every time I put it on, I'm like, oh my god, this really is good. Love it. But also love chocolate, salted caramel chocolate, so it's probably also because of that. Whatever. The one thing we could do to better cope with failure and rejection is to first off, trying to see failure and rejection as something other than just negative, as a learning opportunity, and sit with feelings, sit with positive and negative feelings, with neutral feelings, with feelings you can't categorize, with feelings you don't know, are the feelings right now positive, negative, neutral, I don't know. Sit with them, reflect, talk about them. Talk to others, talk with yourself. Also be aware how you talk to yourself on a daily. That's really important. The second thing we need to reframe is when being in fear of being rejected or of having failed. When being in this situation, reframe the thought, what's the worst that could happen, to what's the best thing that could happen. What's the best that could happen? It's like if you train yourself to think about things in another way, if you are trying to change your pattern of thinking, you're going to see the world in a different way, and also you're going to see yourself in a different way. I hope this little series episode kind of video thing. I hope this helped you in some kind of way. I feel like these things what I talked about at least helped me, so I figured it could help someone else. And yeah, like I said before, I thought about doing a little series about struggles and questions in your 20s. And yeah, so I guess the next video is going to be another struggle or question in your 20s, because there are a lot. There really are a lot, at least for me, and I hope I'm not the only one. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're interested in other episodes, like going on with the series or not. And yeah, I'm happy if I help. And let me know in the comments if you have other tips, other things that could help us. Like, we could help each other. That would be nice.